Greetings, my scattered brothers and sisters in the Lord. Trust you know the Lord is with you wherever you find yourself scattered today, and that you know that his presence with you is more than enough for whatever you might face today. We have heard Paul exhorting the Christians at Philippi that they would be same-minded, that they would be unified, that they would be one in spirit and one in love and in mindset, and that they would consider each other ahead of themselves. Well, today, as we move forward in his letter, we come to verse 5 of chapter 2, and all of Paul's emphasis on being same-minded. Now we come to exactly what that mind is that he wants them to be unified in. He writes this: "Let your mind be that of Christ Jesus." Have the same attitude as Christ. Be same-minded of Christ. Let the mindset of Christ be in you. And what was that mindset? Well, being in the very form of God, being of the very nature of God. He did not consider equality with God something to be grasped, something to be held on to, something to be grabbed or exploited, but instead, he emptied himself. And he took the very form of a servant, and being found in human likeness, he humbled himself and became obedient unto death, even death on a cross. That's the mindset of Jesus. That's the mindset that Paul is calling for the church to have and each member of the church to have, that we would conform to Christ in our mindset, in our attitude. And it's an attitude of emptying ourselves. It's an attitude of humbling ourselves. It's an attitude of becoming servants instead of trying to exalt ourselves. I don't know exactly everything that was going on in the church at Philippi, but it sounds like the church at Philippi had a pretty heavy dose of the Roman mindset, where you try to exalt yourself and you use your position to gain more power and to exploit and to put others down. And so in this world of kind of self-exaltation and holding on to power and amassing more power, what Paul is calling the church to do, what Paul is calling each member of the church to do, is to have the mind of Christ instead of the mind of Rome, and to empty themselves and to serve one another and to be humble towards each other. The picture I get is that of Jesus when he is gathered with his disciples and he's at the head of the table, and he gets up from the head of the table and he lays aside his robe, puts on a servant's towel, and begins to wash his disciples' feet. Head of the table, humbles himself to wash the disciples' feet. And here we're seeing that same thing, much bigger picture, being of the very form of God. Did not consider equality with God a thing to be grasped, a thing to be used to exploit others, but he emptied himself and he took on the form, became a slave, very nature of servanthood. And he humbled himself and died for us. Wow. That's humility. That's humbling yourself. That's becoming a servant. I don't know where you're scattered today. I don't know what power you might be tempted to grab or to hold on to, or to use over others to somehow exalt yourself. But we're called to have the mind of Christ, to where we empty ourselves and we serve. Hard to do, but because Jesus did it, because of the work of the Spirit in our lives through Christ Jesus, we can do it. So wherever you're at, be a servant today. Have the mind of Christ. God bless.